Hello everybody, welcome back to Bumble Stitches episode 16. My name is Nicola. It's been a really long time since our podcast, about 2 months in actual fact, so I feel a little bit nervous and a bit apprehensive about doing this today, but I really need to do it because there's so much I need to share with you, so many things that I've been making and buying and getting up to, and I wanted to just catch up before I head off to do some new exciting things in the next few weeks. If you are a returning viewer, thank you for coming back. I realise it's been such a long time and you probably lost a bit of patience with me. So I'm sorry for the delay, but hopefully you'll enjoy the episode and all the things I've got to share with you today. If you are checking me out for the first time, welcome to my little podcast. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, please click on subscribe or like the video. I think we're up to just over 350 subscribers now on YouTube, which is really cool. So I plan to do a giveaway when we get to 400 subscribers, so please click on subscribe if you like what you're seeing today. You can find me on Ravelry as Bumble Stitches. We have a podcast group called Bumble Stitches Podcast Group, which has been a bit quiet of late, probably because there's been no podcast. That kind of makes sense, but I'm hoping to inject a bit of life into that soon. As I said, I'm looking forward to doing a giveaway in the near future. Getting up to date with some show notes, making sure I put show notes on from today's episode, and also there is a chatter thread in there, so please come and say hi if you'd like to, and there's also a questions thread if there's anything you wanted to ask me relating to what I'm up to. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you've got, obviously within reason, but I'm sure you guys know the score. You can also find me on Instagram as Nicola_Kerridge. I have regrettably had to make my Instagram account private of late and lock it. But if you do request to follow me on Instagram and I can see that you are a knitter or, you know, a sewer or a crafty person in general, that's absolutely fine. Of course, I will be more than happy for you to follow me. It's just that I had a few problems which I won't go into on the podcast that have made me make that private. So with all that to one side, it has been a long time, as I've already mentioned a couple of times already. There's been lots going on. It's been the summertime. Whilst I haven't had sort of holidays as such, and we don't have any little ones around here, it's been a busy time with my mum was moving house, so I did a lot of, there was a lot to do with regards to that, helping her move out of the old house and get settled into the new house. And it was my daughter Lulu's 21st birthday, so there was quite a lot of celebrating to do with regards to that. So we went off to London to see Aladdin, the musical, which was brilliant. We really had a nice day. And we did lots of fun things around that time. So weekends have kind of been, you know, really time poor for me with regards to doing, taking time out to do a podcast. But I have been doing lots of knitting and craftiness in general. And I do have a bit of a project going on at the moment, housewise, which I'll tell you a little bit about further on in the podcast. So I think we need to have a look at some finished objects really before I keep rambling on. I've got 4 finished objects for you today, a garment, a shawl and 2 pairs of socks. So I'm really happy that progress has been good on the actual making front, even if it hasn't been so much on the podcasting front. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is my So Faded sweater, which I just reached for over here. And this turned out really well, and I'm so pleased with it. I haven't actually worn it yet. It has been blocked. I'm just going to pop it on a hanger because it might be just easier to hold it up and show you. As I said, I'm really pleased with it. It fits nicely. It's a successful finished object, if you like. I'm saving it for when I go away to the Curious Handmade Country House Retreat, which is week after next. So I'm saving it for then, for its inaugural wearing. I believe quite a few of the other ladies have finished their So Faded, so yeah, I reckon there could be some photo opportunities of lots of excited knitters in their So Faded sweaters. But I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I hope you can see it clearly there. There's a little bit crease where I've had it folded up in the top of my wardrobe. Just show you the back, which is pretty much the same as the front. And I'm pleased I managed to get the sleeves to match with the colour fades, because that did worry me a little bit, getting them all to sort of sync up as I was going along. But the pattern is very, very well written. If you haven't got the pattern, it's Andrea Mowry. Obviously follows in the whole trend of the find your fade and all the faded sort of patterns that are out at the moment, but she gives you really good clear instructions on how to plan your fades and where you go, you know, how you're going to do them. And there's a little bit of working out involved for your size if you want to try and get the sections of different yarns fairly evenly. I mean, as you can see, my darkest shade at the bottom isn't quite such a big block of knitting as the others, but I'm absolutely fine with it, and I'm really, really pleased with the finished object. So I'll just pop that over there for a second. The yarns that I used for my So Faded are all from Mr. B's yarns via Bird Street UK on Etsy. And from the top down, I'm going to try and hold these and hold sweater and tell you the colours as we go down. I did mention this when it was sort of in the making in previous podcasts, but from the top we have Dry Stone Walls. The next one is Teal Pools, this lovely sort of aqua shade. Now the next two colours, I'm not too sure which is which. One is called Foraging for Berries and the other one is called Picking Blackberries, and I can't remember which way round they are, but both absolutely beautiful speckled shades. As you can see there, I think the light in the room is playing up a little bit, so you can see there. And the final colour at the bottom is called Urban Decay 2, which got that lovely mix of sort of like rusts and blues and a few sort of darker speckles in there of blue. Really lovely shade. So they're all from Mr. B. And they have some fabulous yarns in their shop at the moment, so do check them out. And beautiful to knit with, and as you can see, it's blocked really, really well. The stitch definition is nice. So I couldn't be happier with this and can't wait to actually wear it at the retreat. So that's finished object number one. It's always you feel quite an achievement to finish a sweater rather than a smaller project, because there's a lot of, you know, let's face it, there's a lot of knitting involved, a lot of hours that you spend, especially this bit sort of flew to separating for the sleeves, and then it's just like a sea of stockinette after that. But I think with the looking forward to the next fade, just had that sort of like self-striping yarn effect where you felt really eager to get to the next one and see how it was going to pan out. So in actual fact, it didn't seem like such a huge task to get so much stockinette done. Sleeves aren't my favourite part of knitting on a sweater, but again, with the colour changes, it just spurred you on to get to the end. And I really like top-down seamless construction, because it just makes all this area here with the sleeves so much easier and so much neater. And then at the end of the knitting, all you had to do was pick up for the neck. So yeah, it wasn't too far to the finish line once the actual main part of the knitting was done. So that's my So Faded sweater by Andrea Mowry. Okay, I'm just going to share a pair of socks with you next. And these were a long time in the making. These are the Mercury socks, I think by Kim Drontar, that might be wrong. I haven't got notes with me on these. As I say, it's been such a long time that I was knitting them. They seem to be never wanting to be finished. Really like them though now they're done. I've put in a Fish Lips Kiss heel, and toe is, the heel and toe are both a little yellow uke yarn on Etsy, and that's the Chantilly colourway, this pretty pink. I made a Madewell in this and I had enough left over to say for heels and toes. And the main yarn for these is a one of a kind, I believe, from Suffolk Socks, from Julie. Beautiful yarn. I think it was Pansies in Bloom or something in Bloom, but I haven't kept the tag for this, or I've misplaced it. But really pleased with how these turned out. I like any sock pattern that, although it's patterned, is kind of a fancy rib, if you like. So they've got nice sort of stretchability in, because I have got quite chunky ankles, and I need a sock that's going to fit nicely around the ankle and yet still not to be too baggy on the foot area. But the way the yarns work together, I think, is really pretty. And the pattern itself is quite easy to memorise once you get into the swing of it. So I was really, relieved, if anything, to get these off the needles, because I was quite fed up with looking at the whip sitting in one of my sock knitting bags. So, finished object number 2. I think it's getting a little bit dark outside. I think it's going to rain, so if the lighting does get a bit odd, we'll have to just see how it goes. Okay, rather than jump to the next pair of socks, I'm going to switch to this, which is my Vila wrap. I'm not sure if it's pronounced Vila or Villa, which was part of the Shawl Society 2 by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. And this was the pattern, or is the pattern, so you can see how that works out. It's a really long rectangular wrap. I'm just going to jump up and fetch it down. And you can see the colour choices that I've gone for, which is the sort of natural with the, I think this colourway, the natural is from the Wool Barn, which is their alpaca sock. This one here in the stripe. And the lighter shade in the stripe is Withered Magnolia Flower. This is dye-for yarn that I bought at Loop in London ages ago. It's a 75% wool, 25% silk blend. Really soft and drapey. Yeah, so that one, this one here is the Withered Magnolia Flower, which goes really nice with the natural from the Wool Barn. And the darker shade, the really sort of plummy aubergine shade, I don't know if you can see it well enough on the camera, that's also a dye-for yarn, and that one is called Bat in a Dark Mood. So yeah, really sort of nice contrast to the stripe sections, which is what I wanted. And again, it's this it's got this silk blend in the yarn, so the drape is lovely. I'll take it off the hanger because I've had it on there since I blocked it, just so you can get an idea of the size of the shawl. I love this, the chevron striping. I think it's so effective. I love it. I remember when I knitted the 3-colour cashmere shawl by Joji Locatelli for Mum about a year ago, and that had a striped section on it with I think I used navy and cream. And being a bit naive about knitting stripes, I broke the yarn after every single stripe, and then had an absolute horrendous time of weaving in the ends. Fortunately, the stripe section on that particular project wasn't as vast as they are on this one, but it was really daunting. It made me think, I'm never ever going to do something where there's a couple of rows alternating of stripes, because the weaving in the ends was just awful. Yeah, and then I realised afterwards, some kind folk pointed out to me that, yeah, you don't actually have to do that. You can carry the yarn up the side. So I was delighted, because I just love this effect, and the weaving in of ends was minimal really. As you can see, this was all carried up, and it was only when I got to the lace sections that you had to break the yarn, so that was cool. I love the lace on this. I'm not a very good lace knitter. I don't think I've got very good concentration levels. I do a lot of my knitting at night time, and I think that doesn't help, but it's blocked out really, really well. I don't know if the camera's picking it up well enough, but I was really pleased with how this worked out. And it does help with the way that Helen's patterns are written. There was a chart and also row by row written instructions, so it was quite easy to keep on track. And I just stitch markers all the way. Every single repeat I had stitch markers going across, because even with a relatively short repeat I just get completely lost. So that's the Vela wrap, and you can see the drape of it. It's really quite lovely. I'm very, very pleased with how it turned out. I thought it might be a gift for somebody, but I might have to keep this one because it is really, really soft, and I can see it being a favourite now the weather's cooling down a bit. So that was my finished object number 2 for you. I'm just going to pop it back on the hanger. Excuse me, ducking out of shot, because I don't want it to get all crumpled. I want it to stay nice and neat, and I quite like looking at it when it's on the hanger. So that's that. I'll just pop that back up there. Oh, sorry. Okay, finished object number 4. We're back to socks again, and these are my Slytherin socks. I am a Slytherin. Didn't think I would be. I was kind of hoping I'd be Gryffindor or whatever, but no, I'm Slytherin. So I bought this yarn from London House Yarns a very long time ago, probably about a year ago. I did show it on the last podcast. I think it was the last podcast I showed it on. And it comes really handily wound into, it's 2 skeins that are ready to go with the ends marked already with stitch markers, so that you can start 2 socks at the same point and get the stripes to match. So it's really easy then just to cake it up and get cracking. And I've just done a vanilla sock, and I'm trying to get a vanilla sock, as I mentioned with the last pair, with the Mercury socks. The ribbed style fit my feet and ankles really, really well, and I find them comfortable. But with a vanilla sock, I find that if the foot fits well, then this area might be a little bit snug. Yeah, so I had a little play around, and I cast on, I think I used 2.25mm needles on Magic Loop, which is, I didn't think I'd ever get the grips to grips with it for socks, because I was getting a lot of laddering in the early days, but I have finally figured out how not to get the laddering, which, if any of you don't know and you're having the same problem that I had, is just to, as you flip to the other side of the sock, to knit at least the next 3 stitches quite tight, and that will eliminate the laddering. And of course, once they're blocked as well, it does make a difference. But yeah, so what I decided to do was cast on 72 stitches for the cuff, and I knit down to where I would start the Fish Lips Kiss heel, and you can just about see where I've done decreases, sorry, and I just decreased back down to 64 stitches before I started the heel, because the first one I did, I just went straight into the heel, and with 72 stitches on the needle, the heel was really baggy. It wasn't sort of wasn't sitting, my foot wasn't sitting nicely in it, it wasn't snug, and I just thought that would just end up riding down my foot and driving me crazy. So yeah, so 72 stitches, 2x2 rib, down to where the heel starts, and I guess it doesn't matter if you're going to do a Fish Lips Kiss or a heel flap and gusset. Decrease down to 64, which fits my foot nicely. Popped in the contrast heel in the grey, which I thought went quite well, sort of, school uniformy, and then straight down till I got to the toe. So I'm really pleased with how they turned out. They do fit well. Love the yarn, like the contrast heel. So happy I worked out how to do Fish Lips Kiss, because it does mean that with the self striping you can pop the heels in without disturbing the way that your stripe is panning out. So yes, so I've got 2 new pairs of socks for winter in my sock drawer. don't really wear them out, if I'm honest. I'm a bit addicted to knitting socks, but I tend to wear them mostly at home. If my feet are cold, I just pop a pair of socks on. They don't seem to be, maybe it's the sort of shoes that I wear. I don't tend to find the hand knitted socks as comfortable in footwear. I don't know, maybe I just need to have a little play around. Maybe because these are vanilla and they are more sort of fitted to my shape of foot and ankle, they'll be better. So I'll give them a whirl and see what happens. But yeah, just really pleased to get these off the needles as well. Okay, I'll just move some of this stuff out of the way. This bedroom is a little bit like Armageddon at the moment. The plan that I have, I've got 2 weeks holiday coming up soon from work. First week I'm going off to the retreat, as I mentioned, in Cumbria, which I'm really, really excited about. And on the Friday of that week, Mum and I are heading up to London to Excel for the Sewing Bee Live, the Great British Sewing Bee Live show, which is, I think it must be the first one. So really, really looking forward to doing that. And then on the second week, I'm having a bit of a makeover in the house. So the room that I'm in at the moment is Lulu's room, and she's got a double bed and it's set up as a double bedroom. But the plan is to put a day bed in here for Lou and move my desk and my IKEA storage unit on the other side of the room and set up like a proper sort of full-time workspace for me for all my knitting and sewing things, so I can have my sewing machine out all the time, all my yarny things and fabric things and all the pretties in one place rather than various spots around the house. So yeah, there's things that I've been buying. I bought one of those trolleys from IKEA, the Raskog cart, I think it's called, in cream. Put that together all on my own, which I was quite pleased about. So that's rammed to the gunnels with fabric and sewing supplies and various things that I've been picking up along the way. And yeah, so on that second week I do plan to get everything done and get mine and Lou's shared space really organised and super pretty. So yeah, you'll have a different view. Probably by the next podcast you'll have a change of scenery, which will probably be quite nice, rather than my little corner where I've been sitting all this time. So that's what I'm going to be up to then. So it'll be quite a lot of work, but it's exciting work. It's not, you know, when you're moving all the furniture won't be such good fun, but making everything pretty and nice will be lovely. And it'll be so nice to have a sewing space again, because there's lots of things I want, you know, I've intended to do over the summer that just doesn't happen because getting the sewing machine out downstairs takes up lots of space, and it has to be cleared away after each session. And to be able to get it all out and then just leave it when I'm done and come back to it the next time, yeah, will be really, really lovely. So I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, where are we up to? Is it whips time? I think it might be. Okay, I have only 2 works in progress on my needles at the moment. That's not including Cozy Memories blanket and my granny stripe blanket, which I'm not going to share today because there's not, well, the Cozy Memories hasn't even been out of the box that I keep it in for months. And the granny stripe, there's a few stripes, but if I held it up you wouldn't even notice the difference unless you've been, you know, really counting the rows. So that's a bit boring. But what I am going to share with you, first of all, I'm going to move on to another pair of socks that I'm knitting. Now, earlier in the year I knitted a pair of apple blossom socks, which is another Helen Stewart Curious Handmade pattern, which I love. And I love them because they have the sort of rib style. I've got one here, I've got a faux, no, not a faux, a half finished object, yeah. I popped it on this blocker. It isn't blocked, but I just wanted to show you where I'm at with that at the moment. So I did share the apple blossom socks before. So as you can see, again, it's this sort of rib style pattern, and I find they're really, really comfortable. So if you have trouble sizing socks or you don't feel they're comfortable, give a sort of a rib style a try, because it's, you know, I find them the most comfortable. And this pattern is lovely because it's a quite simple pattern repeat, but you still get the nice sort of lacy effect to it as well. The pattern calls for a heel flap and gusset construction, but I popped the Fish Lips Kiss heel in here just because I find it really easy, because I do a lot of these have been like projects for just taking out and about, knitting on the train and stuff like that. So I mean, I don't commute, but I do go on the train quite frequently up to London for my work, or I keep them in the car, you know, for waiting rooms and hanging around and stuff like that. So I just find it easier to pop the Fish Lips Kiss heel in. But the yarn's really pretty. This is from Elm Tree Yarns. See if I can find the band for you in my bag. This is my little loop and bar sock bag, and that's made by Kate. She's got an Etsy shop also called Loop and Bar. And this yarn is, as I mentioned, it's Elm Tree Yarns, and it's in the Mrs. Mouse colourway. It's a superwash merino, nylon and silver stellina. And when I was knitting on these on the train the other day, the way the light was coming through the train window, the stellina was really twinkly and they were really, really pretty. So I'm pleased with how they're coming on. So I have one finished already, and I've got the other one just on the needles here. So done a few repeats. But you can see the amount of stretch that you get in these is really, really cool, especially if you do want that sort of nice snug fit from your socks. So that's yeah, that's where I am with those. I'm making a conscious effort to try and keep the whips down if I can. I have got a really bad urge to cast on all the things at the moment though, but yeah, I do get a bit overwhelmed if I've got too many whips going on. And the next whip that I'm going to share with you is a bit more of a concentrating project. It is, sorry, there's been a lot of ums, haven't there? I'm really sorry about that. I'm just going to reach across for my copy of Lane magazine, which is issue 2, which I did share on the podcast a while ago. And the project that I'm working on at the moment is the Birkin sweater. I'm just going to find the colour picture for you. I should have put a post-it note in this really. Here we go. It's Birkin. It's beautiful colour work. And that is by Caitlin Hunter, who I think is Boyland Knitworks. Certainly on Instagram. I don't know if she's on Ravelry as well. And she has some amazing colour work sweaters out. So this is what I'm working on. So bear this in mind before you see mine. And I hope I can show you this clearly. It's living in my fringe field bag, and I've only got one pin. Poor me. I've got a little Slytherin pin on there that I got from the Harry Potter shop at King's Cross Station. Okay, this is where we are at so far. It's a bit scrunched on the needles. Let me see if I can fan it out a little so you can see kind of where I am with the colour work. So the colours that I am using obviously is this soft grey, sage green. Let's see if I can find the, so this is the grey. These are all John Arbon Colour by Numbers yarns. I bought these when I went to Fibre East, which was back in July. Yeah, that's how long it is since the podcast. So that's the grey, and the sagey green is this one here, which I love. Now hindsight is a wonderful thing, and whilst I love these two together, the leaf section on the knitted fabric isn't quite as contrasty as I think it could have been, but hopefully when it's complete it will be fine. The other shade I'm using is this sort of goldy mustardy yellow. It's coming out a bit washed out on the camera, don't know why. It's a bit richer than that. It's a bit, definitely more goldy mustardy. That's better actually, a bit further back. So that's that one. And the final contrast colour is hiding, it's come unwound a little bit, this beautiful sort of mauvey, lavender, heathery sort of colour. Really, really pretty. So those are my colour choices. I'm just going to see if I can pop this on the hanger that I had the So Faded on. I don't know how this is going to work. To try and... This could all go horribly wrong if I pull it off the needles. If you hear a sort of a squawk, that's because I have pulled it off. Where are we? Yeah, I'm not going to proceed any more with that because it's all going a bit horribly wrong at the back. So hopefully you can get an idea of how the yoke is working out. And I'm about a third way through the colour work at the moment. Right, now then, colour work is not something that I am wildly familiar with. I did knit a barbel hat, just drop the stitch marker off there. I did knit the barbel hat last year or the year before, which was the pattern for Shetland Wool Week by Donna Smith. And when I knitted it like this by weaving my colour work strands in at the back as I went, and it worked out really, really well. And I was very happy with the finished hat. It blocked really well, and I was really, really pleased with it. But every image I'd seen of people knitting projects like this, that's actually a better image, isn't it, of that yoke. People have used stranded sort of floats across the back of their work, and it made me think, oh gosh, have I done this really horribly wrong? Should I have done it that way? And then I had that dilemma of, okay, do I frog all the colour work back? I really didn't want to do that because it's taken quite some time, and some of the rows are 3 colours. So the thought of doing that was not really a very appealing one. And then I thought, do I change midway through knitting the yoke to stranding the floats at the back rather than weaving? I thought, well, that might change my gauge and my tension noticeably in the middle of the yoke, so maybe that's not a good idea. Or do I just carry on regardless and hope for the best? So I've opted for option 3. So I'm fingers crossed that it will be okay. I think the tension's okay. From what as I'm knitting it, it seems to be fine. The stitches on the front seem to be okay. So yeah, I mean, time will tell, obviously. But yeah, I'm really hoping that it will be okay because, yeah, colour work and me, it's a bit of a labour of love. So yeah, we'll see how that turns out. I'll take it to the retreat and see what some of the other girls think. And if anyone says I have to frog it, then, well, let's hope they don't. Okay, so that is my big whip, if you like. So I'm going to pop that. I've just dropped the grey on the floor, so just sweep down and pick that up. But I was very, very impressed. I'd not been to a huge amount of fibre shows, so it was the first time I'd seen the John Arbor Knit by Numbers range in the flesh when I went to Fibre East. I was really, really impressed with the range. I won't run through all the colours that I'm using here now. I'll pop them in the show notes though, and put that in the group on Ravelry if anyone's interested. But I did use a combination of the full skeins, the Knit by Numbers 4-ply for the grey for the main body of the sweater. And this is 100% pure Falklands merino wool. It is so, so soft. I was really impressed with how soft it is. So that's the main body of the sweater. And then they had a beautiful selection of mini skeins. And at the show they had them in a lovely old sort of haberdashery sort of like drawers, they look like, something like that. So I bought 5 mini skeins for the contrasts, and they are all 25 gram minis, so plenty there, and ideal for colour work, I think. So I will share those, the shades that I've used, in the show notes if you're interested. But what I picked up, well, at the show they'd run out of shade cards, so the lady on the stand kindly offered to take my name and address and send me one. So I have got here the full sort of colour ranges that this yarn is produced in, and as you can see there aren't many colours and shades and tones that aren't covered. Those ones, and there's just finally those few there. And this is going to be a godsend. I think if I'm knitting, I would definitely use the yarn again. It's, you know, for a start, it's beautiful yarn. Secondly, hello, how many colours? You know, anything that you wanted to do, you've got colours covered in this selection here. And thirdly, the price point is really, really good value for money. So if you haven't checked it out, I would suggest checking it out, because I'm absolutely thrilled with it. I think it's one of the nicest yarns that I've knitted with. And to know that there are so many colour choices, and now I've got this shade card, I can look at the colours in the flesh rather than relying on the colours on on my iPad screen. I think it will make choosing colours for projects in the future so much easier. So it's a big thumbs up from me for John Arbon. I think the yarns are fabulous. A bit late to the party, I guess. Okay, so that was, those are my two whips. There is going to be another whip really, really soon. I guess I can move on now to knitting plans. But I think while I was talking about Fibre East to you, I'll just share a couple of the purchases that I made while I was there, other than the Knit by Numbers, because that was quite a while ago. One project, again, from this lovely Lane magazine that I wanted to knit, and I had on my shopping list of things to buy at Fibre East, is the Birds of a Feather shawl. I've shown this on the podcast before, which is by Andrea Mowry. And it calls for mohair and 4-ply, or 4-ply singles or whatever, for the pattern. So I had that on my shopping list, and I did quite a lot of wandering around the show and couldn't really find anything that screamed Birds of a Feather to me until I found Fine Fish Yarns. And I bought these 3 most beautiful skeins from Terry. And this is called Grunge Pink, this skein here, which is absolutely beautiful. It's so soft. The changes in colour and tone are just beautiful. Did I say it's Grunge Pink? Yes, I did. It's the Aura lace. It's 72/28 mohair and silk. And this is a 50-gram skein with 420 metres. So beautiful, fine, sort of lace weight mohair. And that will be coupled with, now is this called Maven, I believe, M-A-V-E-N. And this is the Zion base. Again, from Terry at Fine Fish. I picked up 2 of these to complete the Birds of a Feather. And this is a merino silk cashmere blend. Again, beautiful. I'll just show you some of the lovely speckles here. Beautiful shades that will tone in with this grunge pink beautifully. So I think this is going to be like a cloud when it's knitted. It's going to be so soft and drapey and gorgeous. And it's my first Fine Fish yarn experience, and I think everything, I could have bought the whole stand up really. It was just such beautiful yarn, but I was restrained. So that will be my next cast on, I would imagine, because I normally like to have a garment, a shawl and some socks on the needles, and I think that will be a nice balance for me going forward. Have sort of 3 whips, 3 knitting whips, 1 of each. So socks will be finished sort of relatively quickly and are quite portable. Yeah, garment to work on and a shawl. So I think it's just a nice mix to keep you interested, and yeah, be doing 3 completely different things at any one time. So that was a Fibre East purchase, and that's a future knitting plan. Another thing that another thing on my list, my shopping list at Fibre East, was some yarn for the Marley shawl, which is again by Andrea Mowry, and that is, I don't have an image to show you, but it's on Ravelry. It's basically a triangular brioche shawl. I haven't done any brioche before, but I think you know, with the right incentive, i.e. a great pattern and some beautiful yarn, I think I should hopefully be able to pick it up. And I think she's done some recent YouTube tutorials, not necessarily related to the Marley shawl, but related to her mystery knit along that's running at the moment. So, but brioche technique will be the same, I'm assuming, so I can hop on and have a look at those tutorials. I'll show you the yarn that I bought. It's a 2-colour brioche, so I have chosen from River Knits this BFL 4-ply called My Heart Bleeds. I picked up these 2 skeins and the colours just screamed by me. I could not resist how beautiful they are. So many lovely shades with the predominance of that beautiful red. And from what I understand, these the guys behind River Knits do all their hand dyeing on a narrowboat on the canal, so that must take some doing. And they have children, so yeah, kudos to them to be able to produce such beautiful yarn in what I should imagine is a very confined space. But their colourways are gorgeous. Again, it was hard to just stop at these, but I was very restrained at Fibre East. I had a list with projects in mind and I did pretty much stick to that, so that was really good. So this will be the coloured section. And then I was quite encouraged and enabled by some of the girls that I met up with at Fibre East to visit West Green Loft Yarns stand, where I picked up this beautiful contrast, which is in the Shadow Fax colourway, which I think Tracy told me at the show is not Dumbledore. Oh gosh, I'm going to be shouted down by all the Lord of the Rings fans. The other guy, Gandalf. It's his horse, apparently, is called Shadowfax. So, sorry if I gave you Lord of the Rings fans a bit of a moment there. In my mind, they're kind of interchangeable, sort of Gandalf and Dumbledore. Upset all the Harry Potter fans as well now. Oh well. So, that will be the contrast. So, my brioche shawl, brioche Marley shawl, will consist of these 2 colours. And I think as a beginner briocher, it'll be quite nice to have quite a contrast between the 2 to really help me see what I'm doing. So that will be the next shawl on the needles after Birds of a Feather. The next sweater on the needles after Birkin, well, if I'm honest, I might even cast it on sooner so that I've got some quite straightforward knitting to take with me to the retreat that doesn't require so much concentration that I can't join in with the conversations. So I have purchased some beautiful yarn from the Wool Barn. I'm just going to grab it here. This is just so soft. You almost want to eat it. I don't know if you can see. It's really annoying when the light in the room doesn't do the yarn justice. This is the colourway Golden. It's camel silk 4-ply, if you can read that. And it is 50% silk and 50% baby camel. It is without a doubt the most beautiful yarn I have ever had. Mum saw it when it was delivered and nearly flipped out, and she's not a knitter and not a yarny person at all. She said, "Oh my God, that is beautiful. Can you knit me something in that, please?" And I said, "Well, not this lot, because this is for me." These 4 skeins are going to become a it's either called Boxy and Buttony or Buttony and Boxy. It's a variant of the Boxy pattern by Joji Locatelli, but it's a slightly adapted pattern. It's got a little bit of detailing on the front, not anything fancy, not lacework or anything, but just a bit of ribbon, I think, almost. And the main, the buttony part of it is that it has faux sort of button plackets down the sleeves with little buttons sewn on. They don't actually have buttonholes or open, they're just there for sort of aesthetics. But I thought this beautiful yarn with some little sort of mother of pearl buttons down the sleeves would be beautiful. Oh, please look golden on the camera, because you deserve to be golden. And there you go. Hopefully another day when it's work in progress, the light will be better and you can see just how stunning this is. So I think I'll get this caked up and cast on, because as I said, it will be nice to have something to just sit and knit on. I think it's quite a lot of stockinette in the pattern, so it will be a really nice project to just sit and knit on, and this yarn will be a treat to handle all the way through the project, I'm sure. So that was another sort of like drifted into acquisitions without really saying it, but yeah, you see where I'm coming from. I've got these patterns that are floating around in my head of things that I want to knit, and I've got the yarn ready for them, and I think that's yeah, I think it's quite important for me to have that sort of train of thought, because otherwise I just end up buying random yarn and not knowing what I'm going to knit with it, and then I see a pattern that I do want to knit and I haven't actually got the yarn for it, which is crazy when you've got so much stash and then you find you still haven't got the right yarn for the project you want to knit. So these are all spoken for. Okay, I do have another yarny acquisition I'm going to share with you. There's a little bit of rustling here. I wanted to show you the whole thing really. This is from Beehive Yarns. I've got this beautiful tissue paper with the little gold polka dots and a lovely little honeycomb tape there. And I have bought here both, this is all on the Barbarella base, which is superwash merino, nylon and stellina, and this has all got the gold stellina running through it. This is called Rose Lichen and Cassis is the mini, and this one is called Gilded. I'm obviously on a bit of a gold sort of kick at the moment. So just to show you these in a bit more detail. So this is a sock set, so I think there is 100 grams in this one, and I'm guessing 20 grams in this. But the colours are so lovely. I've been wanting to try some Beehive yarns for a little while. I've seen it on other podcasts and on Instagram, and thought, oh, I need to have some of that. And it didn't disappoint. And what I particularly liked was the speckledy section here. It's got some of the golden tones in. And the plan is, just breaking my own rule here, to find a pattern where I can combine the gilded as well to pick up some of these sort of tones in here, and maybe do a shawl or something with these two, and then maybe with this as a sort of an edging picot bind off or something like that. I thought would be quite nice. But the yarn itself is absolutely beautiful. It's lovely and squishy. Yeah, love it. Really, really pleased I bought it. I will find a nice shawl to knit with this one in the coming months. So yeah, another little acquisition. But do check out Beehive Yarns on Etsy. All of the yarns are beautiful. I think there are some sock sets still, and there's an option on there for pre-orders of quite a range of sort of tonal colours, which is where I got this one from. The image on the on her Etsy site, when I looked like it was almost like a set of minis, and when I clicked into it, it was actually an option to choose 100 gram skeins in the base of your choice, in the colour of your choice. So it was fab. So I just managed to sort of like make my own sort of shawl set, if you like. So loving that, and also loving the little embossed card. You can't see, but it's actually sort of textured, embossed here, and Beehive Yarns on the back, and a little couple of sort of antique gold, those sort of light bulb pins. They're quite handy. I like those for marking increases on sleeves and things. So that's where we are with all the knitty things. Okay, I've been rambling on quite a bit, but I did want to just share with you a really lovely surprise that I got. As I said, sometimes I go to London on the train. I know I'm waffling again here. And I'm a bit naughty when I'm on the trains. I start browsing on my phone and I look on Etsy and I look on shopping sites and various things, and yeah, sometimes boredom kicks in and I end up buying something, like the wool barn yarn, for example, was one. But whilst on one of my train journeys up to London, I was looking on Liberty's website, and always click on the haberdashery section, have a look what they've got going on. and saw this most amazing sewing box that made me literally go, oh, that is so lovely. I'd love to have one of those, you know, sort of like as a wish list maybe for Christmas or something like that. So I sent the picture to Justin, just going, oh my God, look how cute this is. And he sort of said, you know, whatever, men, you know, not really interested in the sewing and knitting things like some of us are. And then a few days later, came home from work pretending that he had a parcel with some equipment for me to take out to one of my clients, and it wasn't. It was the Liberty sewing box. So I did share this on Instagram, but I wanted to show you all how amazing it is and how much I love it. So it's obviously modelled on the famous Liberty store in London. And I'll just take you to the side. I've still got the tag on it, and the back, and the other side. But obviously the front is the sort of show stealer. It's got a really nice sturdy handle, and I think it's absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to open it up and show you. I don't have a huge amount of things inside because I haven't, it's still in the new don't really want to spoil it category, if you know what I mean. And I'm holding off until I've done my craft area makeover before I really go to town with some of the new things that I've bought, you know, as sort of like decoration. But it opens here at the front, so you lift the roof up, and then it's lined with Liberty fabric inside. And this is quite difficult to show you. There's a plastic tray which lifts out, which you can put little bits and pieces in. As you can see, I just popped a couple of things in so that it didn't look quite so forlorn. A little needle book I've been working on with some Liberty scraps on that isn't quite finished. Yeah, so that comes out, and then that leaves you a huge amount of space inside for all your sewing bits and pieces, whatever you want to pop in there really. There is actually something in there. And I also blame this on the Ipswich to Liverpool Street 9:30 service. And this is get it out. It's a bit rustly. This is the, what's it called again? Oh my gosh. It's the Friendship Quilt project by Jessie Chawley. Let me just pop the Liberty box back and then I'll share that with you properly. Just pop this back in here. So this was, as I said, a complete surprise from Justin. He'd obviously taken heed of my text, and he popped straight onto Liberty's website and bought it for me. So yeah, I was absolutely thrilled to bits, and I can't wait to sort of use it properly once I get everything organised. Right, so back to Jessie Chawley. I'll just pop that on there. I follow Jessie Chawley on Instagram. I've seen some really pretty things that people have made, and some lovely images from her her feed. So whilst on the train browsing, I saw this Jessie Chawley Friendship Quilt project that she's got running at the moment, and I saw that initially the first run of kits had sold out, and she'd released a second set, and they were actually in stock as I was browsing. Oh, convenient. So I bought one. I'm not a great embroiderer. I've dabbled in cross stitch in the past, but I thought, well, it would be fun to have something different to do, something else crafty. And I'm sorry for the rustling. I'm just going to get this out so I can show you. I thought it would be nice to have something slightly different to do, just to mix things up. And this apparently makes a small-ish quilt, not like a bed quilt or anything like that, but more of a decorative hanging quilt. And I thought it would look really nice once it's complete to hang it on the wall. So I will show you what came in the kit. I'm not going to open all the little bags because it will just end up everywhere. So it came with a nice selection of embroidery floss in the colours that she says are sort of her favourite ones to use. Then there is a pack of, if that's reflecting too much, embroidery transfer, not transfers, I think they're already just printed on for you to embroider and embellish straight onto the fabric. So these are just the two that are on the outside. There's various inside there. And then there is a little pack of fabric scraps in there as well to applique on once you've embellished all the embroidery sections. And then there is some backing fabric here, just plain backing fabric to put everything on. And an adorable little calico tote bag to store it all in, which is super cute. And obviously I want to store it in the Liberty House, but who doesn't want a bag as well, because it's just adorable. So that's a little bag that it comes in. And there is a handy guide to favourite stitches, which is really cool, helpful for me. And a little sort of instruction and inspiration booklet as well that came with it. So I'm hoping I can be sort of creative and just do my own thing with it, add some of my own fabric scraps and create something that, yeah, is a bit different from what I would normally do. Yeah, so that was another little treat to myself. Next time I go on the train, I must not start looking at things to order, for sure. Just carry on knitting socks. Okay, well, I think I've pretty much covered everything. Shared my finished objects with you and my couple of whips, some plans for my knitting and some of the things that I've been buying as well. So I hope to be back with you in 2 weeks' time. And I really do mean that, because I would have had the retreat, had the Sewing Bee live day as well, had a chance to sort out my craft space, and I'll be so keen to show it off to you all. Yeah, I'm sure I will be back by then and share everything that I've been up to. So please do join me then. I'll post on Instagram so you know when that's going to happen. If you do subscribe to the YouTube channel, you will get notifications as well. I think there's a little bell that you just tap that button and you get notifications so you know when I've uploaded. If you want to follow me on Instagram, as I said, please do request and I will approve you. And have a look at the Bumble Stitches Ravelry group as well. And let's get that up and running a little bit more. So I hope I haven't rambled on too much. I hope I haven't been a bit too ummy and ahry. And I hope to see you again really, really soon. Thank you for watching. Bye.